All right, everybody. Team USA is rolling into the gold medal game, just barely squeaking by Serbia. And we're right back here again. Jayson Tatum, DNP in the semifinal game. You know we got to talk about it. We'll hit you with a preview of USA and France coming up on Saturday. This is Green with Envy. Let's lock in. What up, what up, what up? Welcome into another gold medal edition of Green with Envy. As always, this is your boy Will Weir checking in. How you doing? How you living? Joining me today, as he does each and every time, my best friend, co-host, and the coach of our podcast, the one and only Greg Manakis. Greg, how are you doing on this Friday morning?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about Jayson Tatum. I kind of want to start there if that's cool with you.
Oh, we have to. Yeah, that's so I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So, first of all, really fun overall day of Olympic basketball. And I think there's some other parts that we'll get to. But we're a Celtics podcast. There's only one place to start because this was heavy on my mind throughout this game while trying to balance some of the other elements of this that we're going to get into. But Greg, let's just hit it with a very simple Nancy Kerrigan. Why?
Because Steve Kerr is a self-proclaimed idiot. I mean, that's the only way to describe. I mean, we've talked about Tatum's shot. I think that's
Right.
probably the
That's a
biggest
part of it.
basketball reason why Tatum isn't playing as much as people thought he was going to be playing. If Jayson Tatum is shooting 40% from three, he's on the court. So I think that's the basketball reason, is because his shot has just abandoned him, which we covered on our last podcast. You can go back and go listen to that. But I mean, he's so versatile on both ends of the court that he doesn't need to be shooting to affect the game. And when the game was getting away from Team USA in the first half, I was just in my head, I'm like, okay, you have to ride your big guns, which Kerr ended up doing in the fourth quarter where he shortened the rotation, and we'll get to that. But Tatum needs to be on the court in those moments, especially when Ant Edwards is having a moment where the game was too big for him. Hey, Steve Kerr, Jayson Tatum just played in a ton of big games, and he was pretty good in those big games. So let's trust the guy that has gold medal experience, that has big game experience, versus Anthony Edwards, who, as we saw in the playoffs, the moment was too big for him. He was too young, and he wasn't ready for this moment. Jayson Tatum should have been on the court over Anthony Edwards. He should have been on the court over Derek White, and he probably should have been on the court over Drew as well, because Drew was doing okay out there, but even Drew was the game was getting a little too fast for him too.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think Kerr by the fourth quarter got to a version of what he should have adjusted to earlier in this game. So as this game started, Kerr was just very into this 3-guard lineup, which has been the part that's been very frustrating for me in both of these Serbia matchups. Is he's claimed that Tatum hasn't played based on matchup. I don't really understand what matchup there is that Jayson Tatum doesn't fit into, so that doesn't really make sense in this 3-guard lineup, which, granted, you wanted to start this game. I wouldn't have had a lot of evidence to tell you I don't think that's going to work. They've beaten Serbia by 20 points twice in the last couple of weeks. So you start there, fine. I get it. I've seen the result, but as the game started, and thank God Steph Curry finally had a Steph Curry game, and it was really fucking fun watching Steph Curry have his Steph Curry moment, but that was a disaster. That would have been, if he didn't have, I think he had 17 points in the first quarter. Without that, this game might have been so far out of reach. That comeback might not have even been possible. But as you're watching this game, it's becoming very, very evident that we need more length. We need more rebounding, and we need more defensive versatility when it comes to switching. Guys are getting lost. Serbia is getting wide open threes because guys cannot stay attached. You know who's helpful in that? A guy like Jayson Tatum. And so as Steve Kerr was so committed to this 3-guard lineup for really the first 3 quarters, and by halftime, this is when I was really in my bag of, if he doesn't play Tatum, I've lost all understanding of what a coach is supposed to do for an in-game adjustment. It was right there. Like I said, I understand the first half. Even if I didn't agree, I understand where you're going to stick to your guns. You're like, hey, we've beaten this team with, me going with this method, 20 points twice in the last 3 weeks. Okay, fine. very clearly not working. Third quarter needs to be an adjustment. This is where I don't understand that Tatum didn't get minutes in that third quarter as there needed to be. And even Steve Kerr's own player, Draymond Green, at one point in the third quarter tweeted out, sometimes you just got to scratch them rotations. Like his own player that he's been with for over a decade, championship winning player, is sitting there telling you what needs to happen. And then to your point, eventually we get to a more, Curry had to be out there because he was so hot. And then you have, a guard, and then you get the two wings, and you get Embiid, who, I still think he's being overly praised, in my opinion, for his performance in this game. I still think there were some ups and downs. Definitely a net positive in his best performance, but that was kind of the lineup that I think, as I was watching, this is what I was looking for, and why you wouldn't have wanted to have some Tatum Durant minutes. Tatum LeBron, I get, because of the Tatum shooting woes that you mentioned. Maybe you're a little bit nervous to go to that line, because Tatum's, honestly, he's not even he's not that he's just missing, he's not even taking these shots anymore right now. He's passing up open shots. But I think if you have Tatum out there with Durant and Curry, and maybe let's put Drew Holiday in that 2 guard spot, and you have Embiid or like that works. That's a lineup that I think would have made a lot of sense for this game, or AD, whoever could have been at that center spot. Like, didn't make any sense to me why we weren't seeing more of these 2 wing lineups that were clearly, I think, better suited to defend Serbia in the game that we were watching yesterday.
Yeah, and let's talk about that closing lineup, right? Because I think that was the right closing lineup for that game. You had Steph Curry, who was on fire, Devin Booker, who is not afraid to take a shot and hit a big shot to get the, I
He's
think, to
been,
get the
listen,
game to.
he wasn't great in the exhibition games leading up. He's been very good in the Olympics. I
Yeah,
gotta
no,
give Booker his
he
props.
deserved to be on the court. And then LeBron and KD, which, like, we haven't seen a lot of LeBron and KD out there.
The
We
whole team
haven't
is
seen.
built around Curry, LeBron, KD. We haven't seen them together, which is insane.
Right. Yeah. So this was really the first time that we saw that. And then Embiid, to your point, like, he had his moment, and I think that was good for him. I'm not a fan of Embiid, but it was nice to see him have a moment, because because I'm not a fan doesn't mean I'm a hater. So it was cool to see
I'm a
him.
little bit of a hater. I can't help it. I'm a little bit of an Embiid hater at this point. It's just in there. Like, when he was having that moment where I think he scored on 3 straight possessions for Team USA,
And had a big
part of my
block shot.
mind was focused on, and the big block shot was that for 2 possessions prior to that block shot, LeBron took on Jokic. LeBron said, "I'm taking Jokic." Embiid,
Yep.
all you got to do, protect the paint and get rebounds.
Oh,
He
yeah.
did
Yeah.
neither of those for 2 straight possessions and gave up 4 offensive rebounds. Like, that was part of what was sticking out in my head more than the offensive prowess. But like I said, overall, Embiid, no doubt, a net positive in this game.
Yeah, and he had 2 big turnovers in the fourth quarter. One time where he
That
just,
too.
like, didn't understand the way Steph Curry moves. They ran into each other, and then he tried to attack Jokic and just dribbled the ball off his foot. So we can hate on Embiid a little bit if we want. Yeah, that's cool. I'm cool with that. We can hate on Embiid a little bit. But that lineup, man, like, I think it was in the either second quarter or third quarter, there are multiple times where Drew Holiday was on a shooter and they gave the ball to Jokic in the post, and Drew, for some reason, decided to double Jokic off of a shooter, and they ended up just, like, getting wide open shots because of those mistakes. And, if the game plan is to double Jokic, fine, but also think about how Jokic has been doubled effectively in the past, and you do that with length, right? That was part of the reason why Embiid is playing the rover position and LeBron takes on that matchup, which was cool to see. But Tatum coming a double from the top at 6'9" versus Drew coming a double from the top at 6'4", there's a big difference right there, and the ability to recover back out to the shooter. I think Tatum should have been on the court even for defensive reasons, man. Like, I think there were a lot of moments in that game where, if you've watched Jayson Tatum over the past 4 years, you understand he's one of the better perimeter defenders on the Celtics, and his ability to stay with shooters and contest with length. Like, in a big moment, they put Jayson Tatum on the best players on the other team. And it seems like Steve Kerr just hasn't made that realization. But maybe we'll see him in the gold medal game. For this game, I tweeted out this morning, when Steve Kerr comes to Boston, he is going to get the Draymond treatment. I hope there's a lot of "fuck Steve Kerr," and then people can't claim that. Although we understand there's can be some racist shit that happens in Boston. It ain't racist when it's Steve Kerr. That's about as white as it gets, and he's going to get the full treatment.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm fascinated now at whenever they announce the, NBA schedule, what that date is that Golden State will be in Boston. That's gonna be a can't miss event. And once again, I said this because we're right back at where we started this Olympics, right? With the Tatum DNP. And for me, once again, this is part of the reason I'm kind of happy that Jaylen Brown's out playing with Tigers and hanging out with his new girl, just doing his thing. Like, like I could have envisioned a scenario where it's one or both of them that end up in this spot, and it's in where they're not getting playing time or feel like they're getting the proper respect they deserve. And maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's this chip on the shoulder that they do get to bring into that most champions don't get to bring into training camp with them, is that I've been disrespected. For Jaylen, I got left off the team. For Tatum, they dragged my ass out to France and sat me on a bench. And and I mean, I'll be honest, like we talked about, I'm a little worried about the psychosis that's happening with Jayson Tatum right now, and what this is doing. And we've seen when he's on the court, he's not even taking these open shots, and now not playing. And I don't know. Listen, okay, so I'm not. We listen to a lot of The Ringer. We listen to a lot of Bill Simmons podcasts. I'm not a huge fan of when Simmons gets into his body language doctor mode. But I will say, I was doing a little bit of studying of Jayson Tatum on the bench yesterday. Wasn't great. It didn't look great. A lot of hands in the pockets. A lot of you could see the other guys kind of like enthusiastic. And I don't want to read too much into it, but clearly it did not seem, at least from what I could see, which isn't all. So obviously I'm watching from TV like everyone else. Didn't seem like Jayson Tatum was having the best time during
Yeah,
that game yesterday.
he's sulking a little bit. He's pouting a little bit
Right?
on the
Okay.
bench. Yeah, that I mean, but you're to your point. Like we only get those glimpses of him. We don't get to see him throughout the game. But I mean, why would he? Why would he be super happy? Why would he
Well,
be super
I
happy?
mean, it's just, I
Like
mean,
there's no
listen, I'm
reason
not
to
saying
be.
he should be. I'm not even
Yeah.
saying he should be.
No,
I'm
I'm
just
just asking the question. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah,
Like
I mean, there is I think if I wanted to try to play devil's advocate, I could say this is for your country. This is, you see, everyone else has bought in, like even Anthony Edwards only getting, he got his minutes reduced. AD got his minutes reduced. Bam got his minutes reduced. And you see, how invested that they are.
Well,
Like
you
I
know what?
could, you
But the
could make
difference
that. I
is,
don't think that's
Bill,
the right argument, but
the
you could make
difference
that.
is the coaches trust those guys and they clearly don't trust Tatum.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Like I said, I totally get it. I'm just pointing out what I saw. And once again, I'm curious, what mental state, whether this is a positive that, like I said, comes in with the chip on the shoulder for the Celtics, or
Right.
does it go the other way? I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. I think this is getting now somewhat of a storyline as we go into training camp in a couple of months here. But I don't love it for Tatum. I just don't love it for Tatum. This should be the summer of Tatum. Tatum is an NBA champion. He got the richest deal in NBA history. He's got his
Couple
Tatum
magazine
shoes. He's
covers.
got his coach deals. Like, this should be more of a celebration of a summer for him, and it doesn't quite feel like it. And that's the part that I think sucks. Like I feel like this should be, and I understand that this is the moment, for the final moment, for maybe not the final moment, but the final Olympic moment on this type of stage for Bron, Curry, and KD, who I want to talk about here in just a second. But it does feel like this should have felt more like the summer of Tatum as well. And it just hasn't really, even with the championship, it hasn't felt like that. And so I'm just interested to see how that plays out as we go forward for the Celtics. He's got a long career left, so there's plenty of time to see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, I hear you, and I'm pro play Tatum. Like clearly, it's just
Right.
like it. All the other guys have the coach's trust, and they're getting an opportunity. And it feels like Jayson Tatum just isn't getting that opportunity. That's the part that frustrates me the most. There
Mhm.
is a basketball reason, as we said, he's not shooting well, but all the other guys are being allowed to kind of play through their shit and play through their mistakes, and Jayson Tatum's just not. And it's
I
not
mean,
that
Embiid's
he's
the biggest example of that. He's been in the
exactly.
starting lineup every game, and he's, until this game, I mean, granted, Brazil, Puerto Rico were such blowouts that it's hard to make any qualms about whatever. But like until this game against Serbia, you couldn't really look at too many Embiid moments and say, "Oh, I get why he's still out there." But we
Exactly.
knew going into this tournament, Serbia and coming up with France, those are going to be the two opponents where Embiid was going to be needed. And so I think maybe that's part of it. But yeah, I'm interested to see. We'll talk about USA France in a minute and whether Tatum's going to get a chance. But I want to stick on this game for 1 minute, because despite the frustrations as a Celtics fan watching this, and first of all, I let me ask you this: as you were watching this game, did you Did you think there was a point USA was going to lose this game, or were you
Oh,
fully confident that they're coming? Okay, because I think some people might have been confident. I was not. By about heading into that fourth quarter, I was basically on the either LeBron and Curry do something special, or USA is going home, and we got the three guys that this tournament was built for: LeBron, Curry, and Durant, just being special throughout that fourth quarter. And as a basketball fan, that was one of the coolest things that I've ever watched.
why are you leaving KD off the headline down the bottom?
I
You're
just
like
felt like
Nike, you're like
it
Nike,
just
bro.
it
Even about the
just felt like
commercial.
it was gonna get a little long. I just went Bron Curry, but KD's in this mix. KD is in this mix. It's Bron Curry and KD, and KD really wasn't having a great game until the fourth. KD did
Yeah.
almost all of his work in the fourth, including hitting that big basket up 93-91 where he calls off the screen and just goes ISO. And you can see Carmelo down in the bottom who was courtside kind of calling it out,
Mhm.
which was great because Carmelo was kind of considered like the best men's Olympic player until KD came through. And so watching the three of them operate in this clutch moment was really special. And honestly, it makes me want to find a way for them to team up in the NBA. I don't give a shit. Put the old dudes together. Let them get a chance. I would love to see that. Watching them down the stretch here was really, really special.
Yeah, I think it was, the Curry moment that we've been waiting for. LeBron, I've always been a LeBron fan, as much as you can be as a Celtics fan. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate LeBron James. I've never, as much as I said, like I'm not an Embiid hater. If you compare like the way I feel about LeBron and Embiid, like I'm an Embiid
Mhm.
hater. Like I
Right,
really
right.
appreciate LeBron James for how special he is as a basketball player. And he's having his moment as a 40-year-old 39-40-year-old guy in these Olympics, where people are talking about him playing in the next Olympics where he would be 43 years old.
I
It's
think
just
there's a
like
good chance
he's
it's in LA.
defying expectations. Everyone is just kind of just saying, that he's getting into that Tyson zone, where it's like anything is possible with this guy. We might see him play at 43 years old in the 2028 Olympics and have a real shot to make a difference because he keeps defying expectations and beating Father Time. And it's really special to see. But KD, I thought his moment in the fourth quarter was great because he was struggling, to your point.
Yeah.
But he had that great 20-footer. He also had a nice little elbow jumper at one point. And then his defense, he was picking up full court and playing pressure defense. He forced that big turnover on Bogdanovich in the backcourt. So I thought, seeing those three guys together, that's why I don't want to see them together in the NBA. That's why I love FIBA. And that's why I love the Olympics. Like we don't need it for all the games in the
And it
NBA.
wouldn't be the same because those
No,
guys can't play 82 games, right? You know what I mean? Like at
exactly.
this point in their career, it's not going to be that same feeling. So I totally get that. But I want to go back to your LeBron point real quick. Cause like you said, I'm similar to you. I was thinking about it this morning when I woke up. I have appreciated LeBron James, but I've never been a fan because he's been a rival to the Celtics. I don't
Yeah.
root for it, but even when the Celtics are out, maybe it's some of those finals years where like I'm like, holy crap, this is amazing watching what LeBron's doing. Yesterday was, I think, the first time that I've really ever I was on my couch and I yelled out, "Let's go, Bron!" And I had this moment where I was like, "Oh, that felt weird."
Yeah.
Like I really had to it took me out of the game for a minute because I was like, I've been watching this man play basketball for 20 years. I think he's the second greatest player of all time. I am in awe of some of the things that I've watched him do. I think it's the first time I've ever audibly cheered for him,
Yeah.
and it
I would
really
agree
took
with
me a
that.
second to kind of regain my senses because I was like, "Whoa, what just
Was
happened?"
it
Because there
was it the
hasn't really
full
been a
court?
moment to do
Was
that.
it the full court layup?
I think it was. I think it
Yeah.
yeah,
That was
it
special.
was when USA really needed some momentum, and I was like, "Bron's doing this.
Yeah.
Bron is fucking taking this over, and we're watching." I mean, here's the thing: between LeBron, Curry, and KD, these are what 3 of the best 12 to 15 players ever.
Yeah.
And we're watching like that's insane to think that we're watching them have a clutch moment. And it's also a huge credit to Serbia and Jokic. And man, I love Bogdanovich. I'm a huge Bogdanovich fan.
Yeah, he's a
We've talked about him
motherfucker.
before. Get him on a contending playoff team, please. I need that. That man's got stones. I need him in the playoffs. But
Dude,
watching
it's
them,
real quick. Bogdanovich, he was supposed to be on the Bucks a few years back. The Bucks
dude,
got him, and then that
that is
trade
a
didn't
great
go
point.
through.
Yeah, because
He was
then
supposed
they
to be on
like
the Bucks. He could have been
didn't they
he could
mess
have been a
up
real
like
player.
not tampering, but they did something like out of order or something, and so it
Yeah, it was like a
nullified the trade. I
clerical
can't
error.
remember. Yeah, Bogdanovich with Giannis on that team. I mean, was this is before they got Holiday, or was this after they had already had Holiday? I
I think
can't
it was
remember the order
before.
of operations.
I think it was
Yeah.
before. I think it was
So
when
if
they
it
had
meant they
Bron.
didn't get Holiday, then it wouldn't have meant as much. But if they got Holiday and Bogdanovich, because Bogdanovich would still be on that team right now, right?
Oh yeah.
And then therefore maybe Holiday's still on that team, because I don't know that they're not that him and Dame are the same level, but Bogdanovich could have been your answer to, hey, Middleton and Giannis need help offensively. Bogdanovich, and now Drew's in that fourth spot like he is with the Celtics, where he's
Mhm.
fluctuating between that fourth and fifth spot. And that really is kind of a game-changing moment. And you see that dude's ready for big moments. And we said this when we played the Hawks last year or 2 years ago, whatever, in the playoffs. He was the guy that I was worried about, not Trae Young for the most part. It was Bogdanovich game in and game out that I think was going to give the Celtics some trouble. So just back to cap the USA point here. LeBron, Durant, and Curry taking it home. Really cool, really special. I think that's a moment that I'm certainly not going to forget. And I love that, the three of them, like, this was all built around them. And I
Mhm.
think it's incredibly cool that they actually got a moment on the court that meant something, not just
Yeah, where they were
ceremonial, but like
tested.
it really meant something.
Yeah, where they were
Yeah.
tested. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. So, with that, that brings us to the gold medal game on Saturday after France in the game before, which was really fun. Kind of slug it out rock fight with Germany. France pulls it out, and a couple of things with France. I didn't really care who won the game. I thought Germany was the team that was probably best suited to give the USA some trouble, just because of their cohesion and their level of talent. But the French national team, I couldn't help but kind of root for them, especially after they bench Gobert. That's like my biggest blocker of rooting for them is I just don't like Gobert. And with Gobert out of the way, love Wemby. Love this dude Lasort, which, by the way, apparently the Knicks have his right. I found out, so the
Okay.
Knicks could potentially bring Lasort over. He's like 28, so we'll see. Cordonier, which rhymes with Fournier,
Yeah.
which you called out. He's been great. And then shout out to Yabusele, the dancing bear. Yo,
Killing it.
my guy. The power of the fro. I turned into a fanboy over the last couple of games watching him. And I had no real opinion. I thought he was like fine when he was on the Celtics. He had a few moments. It was like, I could see maybe there's something there, but it was entirely fine when they moved on. It wasn't like this big thing that the Celtics swung and missed on. But watching him in these Olympics, man, he's been incredibly fun to watch. And yeah, I don't know. I'm a Yabu fan back. I'm back, baby.
Yeah, did you see, I think it was Gary Washburn tweeted out that
Mm-hmm.
he saw Yabu, and Yabu was like, "Hey,
Yeah, I
tell the
saw that.
Celtics to bring me back." And you had actually tweeted out, on Twitter, obviously, should the Celtics bring Yabu back? And most people were like, "No," and scoffing at it.
Hard nose from everybody.
Hard
And I was
no
like, what? I
dude,
was like, what are you guys watching? Like it's a
but
15 spot. If you're not having fun watching this, 6'7", 6'8", whatever he is,
they're
guy who's
living 6 years ago, man.
yeah, it's
All
like
e
this dude is
everybody like
very different than what we
oh my
saw.
god, yeah. I mean, I think the consensus in terms of winners of this tournament, Yabu is one of the
Up there.
winners. He should be in the NBA. He should
Yeah.
100% be in the NBA. I think his lack of a consistent outside shot would probably be the biggest thing from him being like a rotation player on a really good team, but he
Mhm.
should be in the NBA. He's clearly talented enough.
I heard
You
Rob Mahoney this morning gave the comp of probably slightly lesser version of PJ Washington for Yabusele is what he potentially could be.
yeah,
I thought that was kind of fair. Like a slightly lesser PJ Washington. So maybe he's an eighth, ninth guy that could be, he's a guy that brings a different level of physicality, which is not going to work in every series in the NBA. But there's going to be certain moments where you're like, man, I'm kind of glad I've got this 3-4 guy that's different than anything else that a lot of
here,
teams have.
let me
That
throw
can
this
just get
out there.
physical.
Let me throw this out there for you. So when you think about the next 3 to 4 years in the NBA and the
Mhm.
types of the players that might dominate in the Western Conference or throughout the league, right? Wemby obviously is one of those guys. The dark horse is Zion, right?
Yeah.
Zion just like getting healthy and going to a level that we never thought he could go to. And you think about guys that might be able to match physicality with Zion and how like over the years have been like, oh, we need this guy to guard Shaq. We need this guy to guard LeBron. We need, what if Zion needs a guy to be guarded? And you're looking around the world, you're like, how many guys could actually match the physicality? And you look at Yabu, and you're like, he might be one of those guys that's actually strong enough to take a shot to the chest from Zion and
Well,
handle it.
Well, here's the thing. We're gonna find out and see what France does in this gold medal game. But do they want to match up with Embiid? I don't think Wemby's a good matchup for Embiid. Right, he's too skinny right now. Like Embiid, if Embiid decides to go inside and even AD, if they want to put their their shoulder into Wemby's chest, that's gonna be a tough matchup for Wemby, even with his length. But so do they go with Gobert, who they've benched and they've been playing far better, or do they try to go with specifically against Embiid, kind of the way the Celtics do, where we put a Drew Holiday on Joel Embiid? Is Yabusele or Lasor, who are like 6'7", 6'8", thick guys that are going to be able to, handle a little bit of Embiid's strength, but get up under him, get into that chest. Like maybe that's the role. I like a guy like Yabusele. I think he just has versatility that's not going to work every single night. It's not going to work for every matchup, but he's the type of guy that I think when I look at an NBA roster, and we talk about this all season long, you need to be versatile, right? You need to have multiple matchups that you can throw out there and make teams adjust to you, and then vice versa, you can adjust to something another team might throw out. I think Yabusele is a great guy for that, to be somewhere in that 8 to 10 spot on an NBA team. So I hope Yabu gets a shot out of this. But looking at USA France here, Greg, Yabu is going to be a big part of this game. Let's talk about the inverse. He is kind of a bully ball, right? Like he'll shoot a couple threes, but he's strong. He's a bully. Do you think this lends itself? Let's bring Tatum back up. Do we think this is a matchup where you have Yabu, you have Lasor, you have Batum, these kind of bigger guys that are sometimes playing the 3 for France, sometimes playing the 4, depending on if Wemby's out there or not? Do you think this is a potential matchup that actually lends itself to Tatum getting time, or do we see something similar to Serbia, or is it just kind of a crapshoot at this point with Steve Kerr?
I have no idea what Steve Kerr wants to do or is trying to do. I mean, I think Tatum should play in this matchup. I think we're too small if we're going to go 3 guards against this French team. There's just like too much beef on that team with Lasor and Yabu and Batum. I think Tatum's a great matchup for Batum as well, just to like keep him off the glass and everything. So I think Tatum gets his chance in the gold medal game, but I don't know, man. It might have been one of those things where Steve Kerr just showed exactly who he was in the last game and who he trusted, and he does not trust Jayson Tatum, as we've mentioned multiple times on this podcast. I think considering what France has and the lack of shooting France has, and it's just going to be a bully ball game, Jayson Tatum needs to be on the court, and like Derek White probably shouldn't be on the court for that matchup. I think like Tatum should probably play over White in this matchup, just because there's no pick and roll threat for the French team. Like the entire
their guards
team
are so bad.
They're terrible.
That's their Achilles heel, right? And this is why I didn't believe they could get to this point. Between Frank Ntilikina, they've got that guy Albasi, and I think Strazel is the other guy. Like they're just hoping that they can get 40 minutes out of a ball handler, out of a guy, and they're not good ball handlers, but they're some semblance of a ball handler. And so they're going to rely on their defense and their size, right? That's what France is going to lean into. But to your point, they're going to remain big most of the time that they're out there. And so I'm with you. I think Derek is likely the guy that should probably be swapped with. If we're just looking at how Serbia game operated, him and Tatum need to swap spots, and then from there it needs to kind of be sorted out as to how much more, because Derek White got 7 minutes in that game. It's how much more or less does Tatum need to play based on the size matchups? Because I think with France, one thing that the USA is going to have a huge advantage on, and that I think they need to lean into, is they don't, like I said, they don't have a lot of ball handlers, right? There's not a lot of ball handlers, playmakers on this France team. And so I think if the USA chooses to, and they get really aggressive with some of these top tier defensive lineups, that they might sacrifice some offense, but the whole point of the lineup is to put pressure, get turnovers, and get in transition. I think they could have a 3 to 5 minute stretch with certain defensive lineups that they can put out there that could just separate the game, and that could be the game. I really think there's going to be an opportunity for Kerr to do that. Will he do it? I doubt it, but I think there's going to be an opportunity for it, because I think this France team, with the way that they're set up and the way that the U.S. should be leaning more in to the versatility of how high their skill set is and how many different lineups they can do, which Kerr hasn't done, which is the frustrating part. Like, they could take this game over in 3 to 5 minutes defensively and just be like, fuck, I think that was the game. Like, I think that could
Yeah.
happen. I don't think it will, but I think that would be really fun to see.
I mean, a lineup of Drew Holiday, LeBron James, Jayson Tatum, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis would be really fun to watch defensively. Or Bam
Right.
instead of Davis, however you
Yeah,
want to
there's a
whoever
couple,
you
right,
trust
there's
more
a
as a
couple
shooter.
different options.
Yeah, but that would be super fun to see. There would be no excuse for not getting a rebound with that team out there because all those guys are capable, athletic, long. Some guys are physical, some guys are more finesse, but in general, that should be a really good rebounding lineup, and I'd love to see it because Tatum deserves to be on the court. I don't know how many more times we got to say this on this podcast. Jayson Tatum deserves to be on the court deserved to be on the court last game, deserves to be on the court in the gold medal game. Hopefully, Steve Kerr forgets that he's an idiot and plays Jayson Tatum.
All right, last thing here, Greg, and then we'll get out of here. This matchup, I'm pretty excited for Saturday. I think it's gonna be fun. Home game for France for the goal. Pretty cool. So I think there's 3 really compelling storylines. I'm gonna give you the 3 that I think are the best. I want you to just quickly rank them for me, or if I'm missing one, throw it in there as well. But here's the 3 top storylines I think we have for Saturday. Number 1, home country goes for gold. USA, the favorite on the road. That's storyline number 1. Storyline number 2, we've been talking about the old and current NBA faces this team built around Bron, Curry, KD versus the future face of the NBA in Victor Wembanyama, once again on home soil. That's storyline number 2. And then number 3, it's been a running feud throughout this entire Olympics, which we've poked fun at. Embiid versus the French crowd and all the boos and even the games versus Brazil and, all the shit that Embiid's been doing. If Embiid struggles, good God, look out. That crowd was really into it for this Germany game. You throw the Embiid embers into the fire and it is going to explode. So Embiid versus the French crowd is my 3rd storyline. Give me a quick ranking of those 3 storylines for you.
I would go 1, 3, 2. I think Wemby, because he's the future of the league, he's still not who he's going to be.
He's not there. He's not the peak of his powers.
Yeah, I think Wemby 4 years from now, that would be, that's the true
trying to steal
kind of
it on US soil, flip the script here.
Yeah.
And you have 4 years later now of all these French dudes that just got drafted and maybe they're a little bit closer in the skill level.
Yeah, I think the best storyline is France getting a chance to play in the gold medal against Team USA as a 14.5 point underdog. Like they have all of the makings of a team that is probably gonna get blown out because they don't have any shooting. And they aren't that talented, to be honest with you. So I think for them to pull out a game against Team USA and even just make it a game is going to be thrilling television. Like, I don't want to see a blowout. I want to see something that at least holds my attention for 3 quarters, at least, you know what I mean? And then maybe
Team USA the fear. Pulls away. I want this. That sounds sadistic, but I want the fear. Like, I love the fear of Serbia beating the USA. Like, I want the fear that, holy shit, we somehow, as much as we've praised Wembanyama, we underestimated him. Maybe he's ready right now for 2.5 quarters. And Yabu's doing some shit, and Cordonier is playing like Fournier.
I like Cordonier, man. I like him.
I do too.
He's like 27. I think the biggest thing for him is he's not like a great shooter, but his shot looks good to me. And he's super athletic. He's
this is just light skinned guy comments, but he looks a little bit like Zach LaVine out there. I think he's also number 8. Like, I feel like I get like a little bit of Zach LaVine vibe.
Yeah, little Zach LaVine, little Klay Thompson out there. Yeah, kind of looks like Abdul Nader as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, man, I'm excited for Saturday. I think that's gonna be fun. We'll probably do one more podcast just recapping that on Sunday at some point, or maybe Monday morning. We'll see what our schedules look like, but gonna be fun. We had to talk a little bit about this, especially with Tatum getting the DNP. So who knows? Steve Kerr, what you got for us come Saturday? Hopefully Jayson Tatum gets some run, gets a little bit of shine. We'll check back in, see how it all plays out. But Greg, any final thoughts here before we throw it over to some Black Sheep Optimists? I see you shaking your head, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. We'll cue up the music. Everybody, enjoy your weekend. We will catch you guys after the gold medal game and discuss what happened. Peace. It feels like summer, baby. Oh, mama, feel like summer.
season got me seeing new colors. So fly, the sky will kiss you. Lips so smooth, I miss your issues. Oh mama, feel like summer. New season got me seeing new colors. Oh my, I'm slipping into white lies and time against you.
Now you're 3 shots deep that you chase with the Croy. You're looking at me while you're making that noise. I've been trying to stay clean, but you gave me no choice. You're making such a scene, never had